Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahabachar Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yatazakba with the GMS Nebraska camp. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is speaking about what are the commandments. Because I want to go into this because, you will have, when you read in the scriptures, it can get misconstrued that when you read a scripture like this in 1 John chapter 2, verse 4, where it says, "He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him." And when you read that, a person can interpret that as saying, this is showing that you have to be keeping the law. And what do you have? You have Israelites. And not to say that, we shouldn't be keeping the law. But what you have is Israelites that claim that they keep the law in its perfection. That they're keeping all 613 laws in its perfection. And that is why they're going to be saved. And that is incorrect according to the doctrine. That's incorrect according to the full scope of things. Because we understand that we can't keep all the laws in this mortal flesh. We understand that we can't keep all the laws in our current captivity. And that's why we have what? Grace in Yahweh Shai. That is what our salvation hinges upon. The grace that Yahweh Shai has given us. So with that being said, when we read in 1 John 2 and 4, it says, "He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him." So based off of that understanding, what the commandments isn't just speaking about the law. While the law is an aspect of it, the commandments is going into the word of the Most High as a whole. It's going into the will of the Most High. All the teachings and the things that we learn from the whole book of the scriptures. Because when we read in verse 5, it says, "But whoso keepeth his word, and him verily is the love of the Most High perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him." So it's not saying, those who keep all the laws in this time, the love of the Most High is perfected. It says those who keep his word. And when we go to that word, it's Strong's G 3056, which I'm going to grab a couple of these. It says of the Greek word is logos. It says of speech, a word uttered by a living voice embodies a conception or idea. What someone has said, a word, the sayings of the Most High, decree, mandate, or order of the moral precepts given by the Most High, Old Testament prophecy given by the prophets. Let's jump down. I want to get to this specific point where it says doctrine, teaching. And if, when it says, "Well, whoso keepeth his word," we can replace that word with doctrine or teaching. Whoso keepeth the Lord's teaching, whoso keepeth the Lord's doctrine, and him verily is the love of the Most High perfected. So when we understand the truth of this scripture, it would furthermore show that the idea that, the commandments is just speaking about the law. And that's what the Lord is looking for for you to be aligned with him. Well, that's not aligned with the doctrine. That's not aligned with what Yahweh Shai has taught us. That's not aligned with what the Apostle Paul has taught us. And we have to go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, where it says, "All scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High," because this is all the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai at the end of the day. Even us prophets today, when we go out and teach this word, when we do these lessons, it's the Lord speaking through us. It says all scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High, and is profitable for doctrine. It's profitable for doctrine. All scripture is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of the Most High may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. It's not saying, keeping all the laws is going to make you perfect. Now, again, in the second covenant, the law will be, the central piece of that, because in the second covenant, the law will be written in our inward parts, and then we will be perfect. Then we will be immortal, but we're not in that second covenant yet. That was the issue with the first covenant, because our agreement with the Most High Yahweh was that we would keep all his laws, statutes, and commandments, And in return, we will be blessed if we were to do that. But if we didn't keep his law, statutes, and commandments, we will be cursed. The issue with the first covenant was that while the law was perfect, while, there was no issue with the rules, with the rule book, we were the issue. We had the problem. Why? Because we are imperfect, because we can't keep, the laws in its fullness in this flesh. But with Yahweh Shai and his doctrine and his teachings, Yahweh Shai has taught us the proper way to walk in perfection, even though we can't keep every single law, down to the technicality, down to each and every, little thing. Now what's an example of, what we read in 1 John 2:4, where it says, let's go back to it, where it says, he that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Because you can have someone who's keeping, a bunch of laws, but the Most High still isn't in them. And what's an example of that? Well, let's look at one of the technicalities of the law. If you had a man that was in the army and he got married, I believe in the law it says you can take a year off from service. I may have the time off, but long story short, you can take a break once you get married. Now, if we were to apply that law in today's time, that would be going against the doctrine. That would be going against the commandments that we have been given in this time, because the scriptures say that we have to be instant in season and out of season. The scriptures say that it's high time to awake out of sleep. And so if it is high time to awake out of sleep, as prophets and teachers, that means it's high time for us to be teaching, which means that there is no time for us to be, taking breaks. So with that being said, let's go to John chapter 14, verse 23, which says, Yahweh Shai answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. So this is what we're looking for, right? We're looking to be made one with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We're looking to be aligned. But Yahweh Shai said to do that, we have to keep Yahweh Shai's words. That's not us going into the 613 commandments and looking for each one and making sure we're checking off them boxes like the Pharisees was doing. No, Yahweh Shai said keep his words. And the difference between just crossing off the boxes of the 613 commandments and keeping Yahweh Shai's word is that it's the intent. It's the plucking the ears of corn on the Sabbath day, but you're not going off. Why? Because you're doing a good work. You're feeding the Akim. Let's go down to verse 24. It says, he that loveth me not keepeth not my sayings, and the word which he hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. So it's saying here that Yahweh Shai's sayings are, what we have to be following. Those are commandments. The sayings of Yahweh Shai. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 37, which says, if any man think himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of the Lord. Who is this speaking? This is the Apostle Paul. So he's saying that the Apostle Paul's letters, those were commandments of the Lord. When the apostles put out different decrees and mandates and say certain things, the apostles, the elders, elder brothers, when they say certain things, those are commandments from the Lord. They may not be totally in line with the law. They may not be things that we can look in the scriptures and see, but they are still commandments from the Lord because they are set up by the Lord to guide us in our walk. And if we were to not follow it, we will be going against the order that the Lord set up, which is showing that those are commandments from the Lord. So I want to go to one more precept and we'll close the lesson now, which is Revelation chapter 1, verse 3, which says, blessed is he that readeth. And it's the whole book that we're supposed to be reading. When it says, blessed is he that readeth, the scriptures say, eat the whole roll. It says, and they that hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. So it says, blessed is he that readeth and that hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein, which are written throughout the whole book. That's what we're supposed to be keeping. And it says that off the words of the prophecy. And prophecy is, at the end of the day, the will of the Most High. We know what the Most High Yahweh's will is before it comes to pass, because he has given us his prophecies to show what's going to happen in line with how he has written it out to go. And so if we are keeping his will according to prophecy, according to what the scripture said, is going to be happening, and how we should be carrying ourselves, then that's us keeping the commandments of the Lord. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you will have Israelites that's saying that, that would interpret that 1 John chapter 2 as keeping the law, and it's 100% perfection in this time, which is impossible. And they would interpret that as keeping the commandments of the Lord. But when you come to the understanding of what is speaking about the commandments of the Lord, it's the doctrine, it's his will, it's, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's words. And the person who is saying that they can keep the commandments in its fullness, and that's what we're supposed to be doing in this time, is going against the commandments of the Lord. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baharachak Kodash. I'm going to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and the salutation